This week, I want to tell you about what I did on vacation recently. I have another funny story, and since it's October, I have a ghost story for you too, and birthdays, what's on TV, and some news. You're listening to The Chris Carlisle Show, hosted by me, Chris Carlisle. I had a vacation last weekend. Last Sunday, I went and saw the Houston Texans play the Los Angeles Chargers. I went the night before and spent the night. I stopped in Caldwell and got a Supreme Personal Pan Pizza at Pizza Hut. I stayed at the Hyatt House near the Galleria. I stayed there last year when I went to Game 6 of the World Series. I ate bacon, eggs, and a biscuit with a glass of orange juice for breakfast. I had a Fuddruckers cheeseburger at the game. I sat in the end zone at field level. The Texans lost 34-24, but played a good game, mostly in the second half. I stopped and ate a bowl of chili at Chili's in Brenham, and I got home around 9. Well, after relaxing on Monday, I went to the Hill Country and the LBJ Ranch, where President Johnson lived, on Tuesday. I saw the Texas White House, a small plane that Johnson flew to the ranch on. He called the plane Air Force One Half. The cemetery where he, Lady Bird, and other members of his family are buried. On the way there, I stopped at Whataburger and got a breakfast on a bun of sausage and some orange juice. On the way home, I stopped at Denny's off I-35 and got a Nashville hot chicken melt. I got home around 3. Okay, next I got another story from my Chicken Soup for the Soul book, and because it's October, I got a ghost story from another book I have called Texas Haunted Forts. Here's a story from my Chicken Soup for the Soul book. It's called Incident at Elk Lake. In it, a woman tells a story about going on a date in Canada back in May of 1989. As she and her date were driving around Victoria, British Columbia, she saw the sign for Elk Beaver Lake Regional Park. She wrote that neither she or her date had ever been to the park, so they decided to check it out. The weather was nice and there was a lot of people at the beach, but they were able to find a place to park. They walked a trail away from the noise through a forest, briefly past a residential area, and finally alongside a series of small ponds. They walked for 20 minutes when, for the sake of a new pair of flats she had bought, she suggested it was time to head back. Instead of turning around, they decided to explore the faint path that led through the field on their right, hoping it would make them make a circuit around the far side of the pods. To their frustration, the path petered out quickly, but they could see water through the bushes in front of them, and they were certain that they could just get through a few waist-high weeds and brambles. They'd be at the pond. From there, it'd be an easy stroll around the shoreline. The brush was denser than they realized, but they were determined to keep going. They reached the water's edge about after 20 minutes, where they were greeted by a denser thicket on their left and an unstable bank on their right. To test it, they took a few steps on the shore and found themselves ankle deep in oozing muck. There were brushes in front of them, and they could see cut grass through the brushes on the far side, less than a stone's throw away. They conferred and came up with a plan. All they had to do was hop from one mini brush island to the next, and in a few hops they'd be across. There was just one problem. The islands were floating clumps of vegetation. The first hop put them in slime up to their thighs. After a few more leaps, they were both submerged to their waists. After several minutes, they got to the bridge, the edge of the bulrushes, only to find out that 20 feet of the muddiest water imaginable still separated them from the far shore. Well, they dog paddled across the pond in front of the guys who were training, the 3 guys it is, who were training their dogs to retrieve decoys. They were dripping with slime when they got to the parking lot, and her date had asked her to change into a pair of paper coveralls he had in his trunk before getting into his car. When she got to the women's restroom, she found it was locked, so she had to find a spot in the bushes to change. The coveralls were part of an astronaut costume from Halloween. She and her date eventually married, and they have 5 kids and 3 grandkids. Singer Daryl Hall, actress Joan Cusack, TV host Chris Wallace, actress Susan Anton, actor Josh Hutcherson, singer Paul Simon, actor Damon Wilson, singer Sammy Hagar, singer and actress Marie Osmond, actor Sacha Baron Cohen, actor Greg Evelyn, singer Usher, former WWE superstar Stacy Keibler, singer Tito Jackson, TV chef Emeril Lagasse, and actor Dominic West have birthdays coming up. Now a story from the book called Texas Haunted Forts. It's about hauntings at some of the old forts around Texas, including the Alamo. This story is about Presidio de Bahia, which is near Goliad. It was built by the French near Garcias Creek and was called Fort St. Louis. In 1689, the fort was attacked and destroyed by Carncall Indians. 15 men, women, and children were killed, including the wife and baby of the fort commander. The ghost of the commander's wife is said to still haunt the area where Fort St. Louis used to be. On quiet nights, she can be heard weeping and calling her husband's name, begging him to save her and their child. The Spanish established Presidio de Bahia, where Fort St. Louis used to be, in 1721. It was moved a few times between 1726 and 1749 to its current location. It got the name Fort Defiance when Colonel James Fannin captured it in the Texas Revolution. Fannin and his men were defeated by General Santa Anna's troops and later executed in the Goliad Massacre. The author of the book wrote in the chapter that she saw the ghost of Colonel Fannin when she went there during Cinco de Mayo. She also wrote that when she was at the chapel, she just saw a woman dressed in black walking in a blast of cold air. The woman glided to the altar and lit a candle for the lost souls. The woman knelt and started crying. She wrote the woman's sobs got louder, and she went over to try to comfort her. When she touched the woman's shoulder, she disappeared in a cloud of mist. She found out that the same thing happens in the chapel and other parts of the fort, but no one knows who the woman is or who she grieves for. Whether the candles she lights stay burning long after she disappears. Some people say she is seen on the grounds early in the morning when only the caretaker is around, and also an ex-caretaker witnessed 2 men dueling on the grounds. The caretaker reports that around the time of the new moon, dawn lights will flicker through the leaves of the oak tree. You can see the lady in black standing at the edge of the trees in the shadows, watching across the dew-colored glass. Her eyes pierce the filtered light. He also said he watched mesmerized as 2 other shadowy figures of Spanish soldiers started dueling. The sound of a limb cracked and falling from one of the trees distracts one of the soldiers, leaving him vulnerable to his opponent's sword. He fell to the ground, and the sound of weeping echoed through the fog. The lady in black faded into black, and the soldiers faded into nothingness. When the caretaker searched the clearing, he found no signs of the duel, nothing to suggest what he saw was real or a trick of his imagination. The author also wrote that people told her about seeing a headless Texas soldier riding through the compound on a white stallion. As the rider's ghostly horse gets to the wall, the lady in black appears, holding her hands to her face, and her weeping grows louder, filling the air. The rider and the stallion mysteriously gallop through the air and blends into the shadows, not to be seen again until the night of the next full moon. There are some soldiers buried near the mission's old stone church. Many people say that one or more of the soldiers compelled the ghost of another woman to search the Goliad compound. Seen dressed in a flowing white shroud, floating across the compound late on cold, misty nights, searching for her husband and child buried nearby. The camp superintendent says he's become acquainted with a visitor who has heard men's frantic voices and sorrowful moanings coming from the site of the 1836 massacre, as well as the smell of human decay, hearing voices and the sounds of footsteps on the planks of the nearby bridge. There are also reports of seeing a woman with black hair flowing down her back. She carries a baby wrapped in a blanket. She's called Little Lorona, the weeping woman. She roams the dark, crying over her dead baby. New episodes of The Connors, Survivor, Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, The Masked Singer, and The Amazing Race are on TV Wednesday. New episodes of Grey's Anatomy, Young Sheldon, Law and Order, Law and Order SVU, and Law and Order Organized Crime are on Thursday. New episodes of Shark Tank, SWAT, and Blue Bloods are on Friday. There is a college football including Stanford and Notre Dame on Saturday. New episodes of The Equalizer, The Simpsons, and The Dallas Cowboys by the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. And there's new episodes of The Neighborhood, The Good Doctor, NCIS Hawaii, and The Voice on Monday. In news, legendary country music singer Loretta Lynn passed away last week. She was 91. The MLB playoffs started last weekend with the wild card round. It was a best-of-3 series. It used to be just one game. The Seattle Mariners swept the Toronto Blue Jays. The Cleveland Guardians swept the Tampa Bay Rays in the American League wild card series, while the Philadelphia Phillies swept the St. Louis Cardinals, and the San Diego Padres beat the New York Mets in 3 games in the National League wild card series. The ALDS, the American League Division Series, has the Houston Astros taking on the Seattle Mariners, and the New York Yankees taking on the Cleveland Guardians, while the NLDS has the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the defending world champion Atlanta Braves, and the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the San Diego Padres. The Astros trail the Mariners in the bottom of the ninth in Game 1 of their ALDS, but won 8-7 on a walk-off home run by Jordan Alvarez. The Astros lead the 5-game series 1-9. The Phillies beat the Braves 7-6 to win Game 1 of their 5-game NLDS series. Those games were played last night if you're listening on Wednesday. And also the Yankees hosting the Guardians in the other ALDS, while the Dodgers host the Padres in the other NLDS. Well, that's going to do it for this week. The story Incident at Elk Lake was submitted to my Chicken Soup for the Soul book. 100 Read, Laugh Out Loud, Repeat, 101 stories. It was submitted by Rachel Destan Miller, and the story about hauntings at Presidio de Bahia is from the book Texas Haunted Forts by Elaine Coleman. Thank you for listening. Be sure to leave a like and a follow with the download button. Until then, I'll see you next week. Hi, I'm Chris, and thank you for listening to my podcast, The Chris Carlisle Show. The Chris Carlisle Show is available on Spreaker. Please leave a like and a review, and also a follow. It's also available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart, Podchaser, and Podcast Addict. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.